Bonk, bonk.
All right. Do you know, after all that now, I've forgotten where the thing is, the present. Hey, there we are. So you can see the way that this conversation is going to go for those that don't watch us on YouTube and just listen. Tank's name on the podcast today is Alan Rogers, Wrexham fan. So, and Jimmy is Jimmy Mac Dragon Slayer. So that Wrexham conversation isn't going to be the first one that we're going to start with. So we'll build up a little bit of suspense around that one.
I didn't know Jimmy was on about that. I thought that's what his wife calls him.
She's called him worse.
Well, mate, you say my wife's a dragon.
Hey, Jimbo.
She listens to this.
How are you? How's things on the old stomach front, mate, after she tried to bump you off?
Oh, no, you know what? I'll be honest, they've not been great, you know.
Really?
I've had really bad poos for like a week or so.
Steady. You could have just said,
you've just been talking about that.
You've just been saying no poo chat. Like
Gary Lineker, it's bad. It's not been great, you know. And I've not been. I eat a lot, but I've not been eating a lot or anything. I don't know. It's just I don't know what it is, but it's surely, 2 and 2. It's got to be up there because of that.
Oh, lad. Well, I hope you're on the mend soon. Tank, what's going on in your life, mate? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just ticking along, getting all my stats for Wrexham for James. Can't wait.
Do you know what's funny, right? We made our first guest appearance as a trio on Friday night. We appeared on Forest Fan TV ahead of Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest at the weekend, and another podcast got to see firsthand the joys of working with Alan Tank Rogers and technology. You had to sign in on your phone in the end, Tank. Yeah,
but
I
can't do all that shit, lads. Where you're saying what was it called, Jamie? What you said you got to do?
Incognito.
Yeah, mate. I don't even know how to fucking say that. Or never mind spell it. Never mind do it. So that's not my fault. If you send me a link and I can open it and stuff appears, which that should happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm all right with that.
No, but to be fair, it was a good laugh. We had a couple of beers. Had a couple of beers with them. The lads were very good. And look, they were Forest fans, and they're inviting Jimmy, who supposedly doesn't support anyone. You got Tank, who said he wanted Forest to win against Liverpool, which I wasn't impressed with, to be fair, mate.
He did it. He was just saying
playing to the gallery there.
Look, I've played nearly 9 years in my career was at Forest. So obviously I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm from Liverpool, but my kids are born in Nottingham. We lived there for I think about 10 years. Liverpool's got nothing to play for. The season's finished. It was being finished for, in my opinion, and I've said this to you all along, and Liverpool's season's been finished since December. So I would have loved Forest to go there and get 3 points and push for safety, and Liverpool just be Liverpool this season.
Well, one of the things and I'll stay with you just to kick off, Tank. We'll start on the Liverpool Forest game because obviously
I'm fine, by the way, as well.
What's that, lad?
I'm fine, by the way, as well, just in case you're wondering.
Don't you, mate? You think that I haven't got my questions all mapped out and I know which one to go to who with what? You know what I mean? Don't do this by chance, Jimbo.
Okay.
Tank, I'll stay with you if it's okay with Jim. And what did you make of the game? Because one of the things that we did say when we went on Forest Fan TV is, look, Forest have not scored a lot of goals this season. You'd have gone balls to the wall and had a good go at Liverpool. We did both say that Liverpool will always give you chances, and it did turn out that way. Forest were able to mount a few attacks, get a couple of goals. Liverpool looked a little shaky at times, but they were ultimately bailed out by the front lads.
Yeah, I just thought. I think what we spoke about on the Forest podcast was the midfield. They seemed to put an extra man in midfield, took Brennan Johnson out and put an extra man in midfield. But I've got to be honest, boys. I thought the big unit up front for Forest, he ragdolled Van Dijk.
Was it A1E?
Yeah, he's the ex-Liverpool kid, isn't he?
Say it.
No, big unit.
I love that he went with big unit because there's no way he was.
I can't say that. Just about saying my own name with these temporary teeth in. But honestly, I thought he caused the Liverpool's central defensive pair all kinds of problems. I mean, I've not seen anyone do that to Kanate this season at all. He just ragdolled him everywhere.
Can I be honest, right? And I don't mean this to discredit, and maybe this will annoy. I don't think he's a great footballer, if that makes sense. I was looking at him, it's like he's awkward. Like if you got a chance in the last minute, you wouldn't fancy him to put it away. But what he does, he uses his strength. And as you said there, Kanate is usually the bully, and he was very much being bullied. He was a right handful.
I think they've missed him because he's been out injured, the lad, for quite a while now. But I think the way Forest are trying to play with him is like he's the battering ram and he's got the quick lads like Brennan Johnson, Gibbs White flying, off his hold up play. And I think they've missed him. But I thought Forest looked a different side. He kind of like took the shackles off a little bit because we've said it before. This Liverpool side gives chance after chance after chance, and I thought Forest played. Liverpool's quality was always going to come through. That's the only issue. You've got front men like that. They're going to score goals against the sides down the bottom of the league. But yeah, I mean, the overhead kick from that lad at the end was unlucky, wasn't it?
Yeah, heart in mouth stuff. And Jim, we were sat. It was actually on the Forest podcast when we were getting news through of the Arsenal result, and Southampton were winning, and then Arsenal pulled it back. But I suppose one thing for Forest that they got to look out for now is you've seen West Ham kind of pull away a little bit. West Ham got a big win, obviously against Wolves over the weekend, which has put them in a much stronger position. I would still argue, though, that Forest can take a lot from this game because they certainly weren't down and out and played some good stuff.
Absolutely not. I mean, when we're talking around the Man United game, and it was a bit toothless, and having seen how A1E played at the weekend, that would be, if I'm a Forest fan, I'd be more frustrated because Harry Maguire was on a yellow card after about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So if I'm a Forest fan, I'm thinking, well, why is he not being instructed to do that against Harry Maguire all day? Just get him wrestling your back, and just absolutely terrorise him. And that for me, United go 1-0 down, 10 men down there, you've got more of a chance. So I'd be frustrated at that because they should have targeted Maguire there and they didn't. But like you say, they seem to have took the shackles off. They played the way that most teams down there play, a 4-3-3, one striker, wide men bombing in behind, and then getting back and creating a 4-5-1, and it paid off for them in the fact that they've actually gone and scored goals and looked dangerous. So for me, they need to play like that for the remainder of the game and not revert back to type. Even if you're playing against teams down there, don't just try and nick a 1-0. You've got to go and try and win the game and put the games to bed so you don't have that nervousness. But yeah, I think there's still enough down there for Everton, Forest, Leicester, Leeds to one of them will do something magical. And I hope Forest are in and around there and still fighting for it towards the end of the season.
Tank, I want to come to you something just on Liverpool, right? Because we've been open in our love for Darwin Nunez. He's made football fun this season, right? He's a little bit raw, as in, he's acclimatizing to a new league, but he brings a little element of madness. And as a football fan, I enjoy that. And we've raised questions of the usage of Darwin Nunez this season from Klopp, is not picking him at the moment, or when he has picked him, he hooks him 60 minutes, pretty much 65 minutes every single game. Very rarely will you see him start and finish games. Feels like it's been a very stop-start season for him. He's still got 15 goals, which is, I think, is a really good return. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think he needs 2 more goals before the end of the season. He'd get more than Suarez did in his first season. So, it's certainly been a decent showing from him on limited game time. It was interesting in the week in the build up to the Forest game, because I think some Liverpool fans have probably been a little bit frustrated and asking questions around the usage of Nunez. And it seemed to me like he was spelling out that the reason he's not been picked is the entry to this Liverpool team is your ability to counter press, which we know that Jota does very, very well for Liverpool. What have you made of the handling of Darwin Nunez? Because I thought when he came on against Forest, he looked a little lost. He was played central as opposed to left. I think he seems one of those players that likes to start central, but he naturally pulls into a wide position. So then if you've got that rotations happening, I think we saw it, didn't we, against United? It was Nunez, Gakpo and Salah, and there was a lot of rotation and movements, and it looked great. I'd argue that the usage of Nunez this season is now starting to impact him a little bit in terms of his confidence. He's not getting a run in the side, and he seemed a little bit lost when he came on against Forest. What have you made of that whole scenario?
This is what we spoke about with Klopp. Klopp's had as bad a season as the Liverpool team because some of Klopp's decisions and, his selections and substitutions and his use of Nunez, for me, this season's been absolutely, especially the last 8 games. It's been absolutely bizarre. You know, I know that Jota scored a few goals in the last couple of games, but prior to that, lads, he's absolutely stunk the place out like you wouldn't believe. But then you look at Nunez. Now, as a player, and we've all played football at various levels, we all know that when your confidence is down, you can tell facially you're not enjoying the game. For me, Saturday was I was kind of thinking there might be a problem here because the lad looks like he's completely fell out of love with football. He wasn't making the runs. He wasn't a direct threat. He wasn't the carnage what he has been. He kind of looked a bit of a reserved player. Now, if you take that out of Darwin Nunez's game, I don't think his natural ability is wonderful. I think his carnage and his instinct and off-the-cuff football is out of this world to watch as well. And I just think that Klopp's he strangled it out of him. And I didn't really like his conversation where he was going about, the counter-press. If that's why he's not playing, well, you should fucking sack your whole midfield because not one of them's got a pressing bone in the body this season. So I don't really understand why he's singling a forward. I understand we do the press from the front. I get that. Salah's not fucking... I can't really remember many times Salah presses. Bobby used to do all the pressing and Manny, but Salah never used to do this. And I just thought I thought he hung him out to dry a little bit. I thought it was quite a poor statement at a poor time as well.
Yeah, I thought the same, Jim. It surprised me. And I think he even mentioned around his inability to speak English, which is nearly saying, well, maybe he's not taking on the instructions or whatever. It felt a weird one for me. Or am I just being too protective over a player that I like?
I think they're both, mate. You can look into it as deep as you want, or you can be as flippant as you want. And for me, I just don't think Jurgen Klopp trusts him at this moment in time. And
I think he's not having him.
No, I don't. I don't think he's having him, just because of the way he plays and the way Jurgen Klopp plays. But the issue for me is Darwin Nunez has not been anywhere near your worst player at all in any shape or form this season. Yet he's the one being hung out to dry. He's a young lad. He's come to a new country. He's trying to learn a new language, and Jurgen's just absolutely hung him out to dry. I don't know if he's meant to use it as a kick up the arse or whatnot, but you don't do that in public.
He does not seem the type that would respond well to a kick up the arse
in public, and you just get you behind closed doors maybe. So I'm not sure.
Again, he probably wouldn't understand the press conference, so he might be all right.
Well, yeah, well, there's that. But I don't think Jurgen's having him, lads.
Yeah,
I think he prefers Jota and Gakpo for what they do, and I think Nunez will be used as a bit part player until he or if he can do what Jurgen wants. But I don't think he can. I don't think he's that type of player.
Yeah, my worry is to get the best out of Nunez. I think what you've got to have is what Liverpool nearly had back in the day with lots of rotation in the front three. And as I said before, in that United game, we saw little bits. I think that natural movement where he pulls wide left to isolate a fullback or a centre-back, he can then use his pace and run the channel. That's where he's at his best. But what that means is that Jota then would have to move from the left into central and make sure that there is some type of rotations. Whereas we saw the other day against Forest, he was a number 9, holding a number 9's position. There wasn't the space in behind. And like Tank says, I don't know if he's got the technique yet to be able to occupy, spin. You know what I mean? He needs he's got it. He just has to be confident to be able to execute it. And I just don't think he's confident. So, yeah, I agree with both of you, lads. I think it's a little bit worrying now. I think he needs a run of games in the side, but with Jota scoring, is that going to happen? So I just think, yeah, strange from Klopp for me. Now, lads, I want to come to the topic we've all been waiting for, which is Wrexham. Now, we often disagree on this podcast. I think it's fair to say, and I think it's good when we do. Of some of the topics we've disagreed on, it's made complete sense. I didn't see this one coming, Jim, and I'm still not sure if you're just playing the Simon Cowell of the podcast here. And I want you to start off by telling us.
Let me explain.
Yeah, go on. You explain where this came from. Go on.
Let me explain. So, obviously, Wrexham won the league.
Have you made notes? Have you done research yet?
I haven't. I don't need any research. It's not about that. It's nothing to do with that, right? I watched. Well, I didn't watch it actually, but obviously Wrexham won the league at the weekend.
So there's your first bad point. You didn't even watch it.
No, I'm
Fucking
busy. I'm
hell.
not bothered about it. I'm not bothered about them winning.
Fucking
the
hell,
league.
you tweeted
He just
about
wants to. He just wants to argue with you, Tank. That's all it is.
It's not. It's nothing to do with that. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. One of the, it might be an underlying issue that I play for Chester and Wrexham hate each other, but that's still got nothing to do with it. So let me outline. I have zero issues in how Wrexham are being run. Zero. I've also got zero issues in how Man City are being run, how PSG are being run, how Newcastle are being run, and how Chelsea were being run when Abramovich came in. I have zero issues with these owners coming in and spending their cash, spending it wildly, right? Zero. Because it doesn't affect me anyway, shape or form. It's their cash, right? The issue I have is that everyone has jumped on this bandwagon going, it's a fairy tale story. Oh, Wrexham, they've brought the community together. They've done all this. It's exactly what City did when new owners came in, and it's exactly what Chelsea did when Abramovich came in. They bought that league, right? They've bought the league. It's not a fairy tale. They've gone and spent the most money, just like Blackburn did when they won the league. They spent the most money on the best players, spent well above and beyond anyone else, and they bought the league. Again, I've no issues with that. The issue I've got is the hypocrisy of mainly Liverpool fans going, oh, Wrexham, it's such a wonderful story.
Was it my tweet that set you off here, Jim?
No, it wasn't just you. It wasn't just you. I mean, you are part of the problem, but it wasn't just you.
Okay.
I saw another one. I saw your sister getting involved, and she doesn't even get involved in Liverpool games. And the issue, and it's just because they're two faces.
You having a go at my sister now, lad?
I am. Sorry, Claire. I'm putting her in the. Everyone going, oh, it's such a wonderful thing. It isn't. They've spent millions of pounds. Of course, they're going to win. If you imagine being a Notts County fan or an Altrincham fan or someone
Jimmy,
in that league,
Notts County budget this season.
I'm sure it's above and beyond everyone else's.
Huge Notts County's budget, massive, as it shows.
But so it's not a fairy tale win. It's not someone they bought the club. They've spent millions. They've got a load of people on the bandwagon. They've then gone and bought one of the Premier League's top goalies. Spent giving probably about $8,000 a week when the average wage in that league is $1,000
a week he's on.
Eh?
$3,500 a week he's on.
Yeah, and of course,
yes.
and. It's just it's not a fairy tale shit. The issue I've got is people slate now, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, it's state-owned Man City, state-owned, human rights record. They're cheating." Right? Okay, I get that. Totally get it. Before all that, right? Take Chelsea, right? When Abramovich bought Chelsea, what was the label that was given to Chelsea fans when Abramovich was buying the league? Plastics. They're all plastics. Flag waving plastics. They're all in it. Wrexham, since they've been in League Two, average 5,000 fans, right? 5,000. That's when they're playing league football. A couple of celebrities come in, chucking money. They're selling out 10 grand. Plastic fans. No one says that about it. No one says it about it. How can you average 5,000 fans for the last 15 years, and then 2 seasons when 2 rich owners are coming to buy the league, you're up at 10,000? You're saying that's not plastic
more
fans?
Than 5,000. Wrexham haven't been in the leagues for 15 years.
That's one thing I did search was with the average fans.
Wrexham haven't been in the league for 15 years.
Exactly, but even when they were in the
trust me.
Even when they were in the league, their average attendance in 2007, 2008 in League Two was 4,234.
That's League Two. That's the whole league, not Wrexham.
No, that's their average attendance for that league. For their league games was 4,234.
So, do you want to come in, Tank, or should I? Because I've got a few bits. Come on, do you want to come in?
I don't get where the argument or the comparison, because I mean, even what Jimmy's just said then, it's just totally deluded his argument. There's no comparison. How can you compare us, Paris Saint-Germain?
So the comparison.
Hang on, Jimmy.
Hold on, lads.
Just let me go.
I want to say the comparison isn't the issue.
But that's
Your issue is the fairy tale.
No,
But
The
let me
issue
read it.
is
It's
fans
exactly the
will
same.
quite happily slate City, Chelsea, PSG, Newcastle for their ownership and what they've done for that club in buying their leagues. Whereas Wrexham do exactly the same, and it's
They haven't done exactly the same.
same,
It's
though,
totally
mate.
different. It's totally different, mate. What the owners have come in, right? They've come in. All they've invested is 2.5 million on players, recruitment, and facilities. 2.5 million. That's not a lot, you know, mate.
Mate,
2.5
it's
million.
in the
Hang on a
it's in
minute.
the
But what
National
they've done,
League.
Jimmy,
It's 2
what they've done
You
is
think any of them
business.
National League?
Hang on a minute, mate. Just let me get my point across. What they done, mate, was business savvy because the two celebrities, and they've used their networking, they've used their marketing power. I'll give you some stats now since they come in. Twitter followers, 45,000. Since they come in, it's 209,000, 400% up. Instagram, 27,000 to 208,000, 600% increase in volume. TikTok, they didn't have an account. They've got 459,000 followers now. They've got sponsorship with TikTok, Expedia. As soon as they come in, they signed a 25-year lease with Wrexham Council to say, we're in this for the long term. And then what they've done is they've got all of the mates from Netflix and said, this is what we're going to do. Once again, genius marketing, genius from businessmen, absolute genius. They said, we're taking over Wrexham. We're two Hollywood celebrities. They were getting paid $400,000 per hour of footage, not per show, per hour of footage they were shooting, $400,000. And then it generated the 8 episodes generated £3.2 million. So that's the budget paid for. That's done. So they actually haven't spent a fucking penny. And that's got nothing to do with any sponsorships coming in. They took the season tickets from 2019 to 2,609 season tickets. Last season, they sold 6,820 season tickets. So what they've done, Jimmy, they've not come in and said, we're going to spend more of this, that, and the other. They've gone in and they've done similar to what Jurgen Klopp has done at Liverpool, and they've galvanised the community. And he says, we're going to turn you into believers, into non-believers to believers, or whatever Klopp's statement was at the time. These lads have come in and done the exact same. They've realised Wrexham's only 25 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes from Liverpool, Manchester. The catchment area is unbelievable. And they've said, you know what? We'll reinvent this whole community and we're going to turn this into a mini Liverpool. And that is exactly what they've done. They've not gone in and said, we're going to give you 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a week. I know personally some of the people who run Salford were throwing more money than these about than anyone. There was a goalkeeper who got on a free transfer from, I think he was playing at Hibs at the time. And Celtic tried to sign him. Celtic, a global giant, Salford give him more money in League Two than what Celtic could offer him. That's buying leagues with a 2,000 crowd. You can't even compare these to anything remotely to Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, or any other club, Newcastle. And by the way, none of us have slagged Newcastle off because Newcastle's done it really well.
Yeah, because they haven't won yet. But when they start winning, you will. When they start beating Liverpool,
done a very savvy Newcastle.
I'm not having it. But my point is, I have no issues with the ownership. I have no issues what they've done. I have no issues in the money they spent. Wrexham lost £2 million quid. Wrexham lost £2 million. They lost £2 million. When they were buying Paul Mullin, they didn't have all these bloody sponsorships. When they're paying Ben Foster X amount, you moan about City doing third-party contracts with their own owners. Wrexham are sponsored by Aviation Gym, which is Ryan Reynolds' own gym company. So they're doing exactly the same. I have zero issues with that. The issues I have with rival fans who will happily slag off City, PSG. If you're saying you don't, then fine. But there's a majority of fans that call them plastic, talk about attendances, all this sort of stuff. Now, the cheating side of it, I get. That's recent times, right? That's what we're aware of in recent times. So I'll give you that, right? But prior to that, we weren't aware of it. But still, because City was spending the most money, it was all oil money, this is that, and that. But
Jimmy, Wrexham, like every walk of life, you have to speculate to accumulate. Them lads couldn't go into Wrexham and say, right, listen, we're not going to spend one pence.
And say what Wrexham are doing is perfect and everyone loves it. Ryan Reynolds it isn't. They're still spending money. They lost 2 million quid last year.
That was 2 million quid the year before last year, Jimmy. These books haven't come out for this year. You know that.
This year, I'm talking 22, 21, 22.
I've just give you all of the stats, mate, what they've done. They've turned it into the marketing app. It's genius. We should be sat here saying, do you know what? Paris Saint-Germain, Man City and all the others should be looking what these have done because it's fucking genius. They've used their global fucking reach.
Reach is the word.
And they've smashed it. They've absolutely smashed it.
I have no issues in that. Zero.
Here's another one for you then.
I love Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I love them guys as a fan. What I don't like is other fans of other clubs who will happily slag off City for the attendance. All these and then Wrexham.
I'll tell you what then. Let's take Man City's FA Cup semi-final.
It's irrelevant. The point is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if they have a million fans or one fan.
Did you see the Man City banners? The whole 3 sections with the Man City flag. Man City bought them seats. They bought them seats. Why did they buy them seats? Because it looked like they generated
as I
more
said,
income.
To me, it doesn't matter if they've got one fan or a million fans there. It has no. I don't give a shit. It really doesn't bother me. But for everyone else, it seems to. And then they have all this money still that their owners have. And if they're generating this income through nefarious means, as in third-party sponsorship, fine them. They got fined by FSP, FFP, whatever, and they just pay it off. I have zero issues with anyone spending their own money. What this is not,
the comparison is just null and void. It's null and void.
What this is not is Fairytale. It is not Fairytale.
Fairytale.
It isn't.
Galvanised the whole community.
It isn't.
Wrexham in the FA Cup against Blythe
it isn't Fairytale. It's rich people coming in, using their contacts and getting... Look, they've done brilliantly as a business. They've done brilliantly. I get it. But it's not Fairytale.
So what I would say here, right, and I enjoyed that, lads. Thanks for that.
It's actually quite it was very well held back debate, actually.
No, I'm actually proud of you both there. What I would say, is not the voice of reason, because I don't need to be the voice of reason, but I would say my view is...
Jamie, do you know what? For the first time in this podcast, I'm calling you out. We need your honest opinion on this, not just the voice of reason. We need your honest opinion on this.
Yeah, my honest opinion on this is I'm massively impressed with the way that Wrexham have been ran. And this is the marketeer in me, my day job. Their ability to use their reach and monetize that. So, for example, to be able to get the TikTok deals over the line, to be able to get the Expedia deals over the line. What they did in getting secure in the docu-series is they actually got the production companies to front up the costs. So for the next, they've signed off for the next series, and I think they're now debating or discussing the third series. Those production companies are covering the costs of those. So it's not coming out of their ass pockets. And all that is going to do is grow the reach. You then sell the reach to various partners and you get more money. So for me, and I know what you're saying, Jim, in that it's not a fairy tale because rich people have come in. But I think to Tank's point before when he was saying about Newcastle, people don't have as much of an issue, or certainly I don't, because of the way that Newcastle are doing it. They're boxing clever. They're being smart. They're not just spending money like, 60 million on 4 fullbacks, and they know that 3 of them won't work, but they don't give a bollocks, and they're just stockpiling players. They're being smart. And Wrexham, I think, are doing it in the right way, and that it's not like they've just splashed the cash with no consequence. They're using the revenue that they've generated through smart business decisions to put back into the stadium, the community. As a result of that, then people want to go and watch the football because there's a feel-good factor. The team are better. It's regenerated the whole community, and that, for me, it's that element. It's taken one of the oldest clubs in football that have had a long-standing history in the game, in a town that probably needs a little bit of help in terms of regeneration, and their plan is long-term plan, make it back into a bit of a superpower. Now that's the side for me. It's self-generated. There doesn't seem like there's any underhand stuff going on. I know you mentioned about aviation gin, but this isn't blag sponsorships that don't even exist. Do you know what I mean? This will be an above board partnership. His face is front and center of that brand, so there's nothing underhand there. It's the issues with some of the other clubs that we've mentioned is these companies that they're signing deals with don't even exist. They literally don't exist. So I think for me, that's the side where I do see it as a fairy tale. And look, 2 fucking Hollywood movie stars coming in and being your owners, that in itself is a bit of that just doesn't happen. And the way that they've done it. And do you notice when Ryan Reynolds was doing his press conferences, he'd always talk about Notts County and the history of Notts County and why Notts County. So this isn't a guy who like sits in his ivory tower and is not invested. He knows stuff about the people that they're playing against and where they're trying to get to and the stuff that they've overcome. I just think for me, that the type of owners that a lot of football clubs would want, that seem to be doing it in the right way. They're invested in the local people, the towns, and the redevelopments of the club, and they're spending what they generate through smart business decisions. That's probably where I'm at.
And I agree, because they need to generate that money, because they haven't got billions like. But when City owners came in, they've regenerated all around the Etihad Stadium. They've built multiple, different stadiums.
They're funded by a country, lad.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because the issue you've got with that is because it directly affects you as a Liverpool fan. If City was still in the lower end of League Two, you wouldn't be asked if they were owned by a country, or even if it was owned by bloody Dr. Robotnik from Sonic or someone. You wouldn't give a flying shit, because it doesn't affect you. The reason Newcastle, you're saying it's done smart or whatnot, it's not directly affecting you as a Liverpool fan. What City directly affects you is they beat you year on year. Now, recent times, it's come out, recent sponsorship, that sort of. I get it, totally get it, right? Prior to that, that wasn't anywhere near. It was rich owners spending their money. If they want to spend £150 billion on 85 fullbacks, that's their prerogative, as long as it was done in the parameters of that time. And at the time, it was. But still, they're called plastics, they're called oil money, they're called this and that. Now, what Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have done is absolutely fantastic for Wrexham. I have no issues, absolutely no. The issues I have is with rival fans seemingly loving this because it's people they know, but hating everything else because it's directly affecting. That's my issue.
Honestly, mate, it's nonsense what you're saying. It's nonsense because Man City's been found guilty for corruption and cheating. So I don't give a fuck about Man City.
And they were fined accordingly, right? Were they fined accordingly?
Well, obviously not, because now they've reopened it, because the FA have now gone, well, hang on, this isn't right, actually. You can't
fabricate all of this. And they'll get fined accordingly, and they will get punished accordingly.
Yeah, they will do, but you're making out that this is us just loving it because, like, it's Wrexham, it's perfect. Wrexham is a fairy tale. No matter what you say or think, it's a complete and utter fairy tale. You've got two superstar Hollywood actors who's come in and said, we're going to galvanise this whole club town, and we're going to have a fucking ball doing it. And all of the stats prove it, mate. You've got, as Jamie just said, then the Netflix paid up front, bang, there you go. Actually, them owners will not put a single penny in their pockets for the next 10 years, I guarantee it. They'll generate that much money through sponsorships. They could use, Jamie, you're in marketing, you know the power of Instagram and fucking TikTok. They could put one advertisement out and charge fucking 50 grand. Go, bang, there you go. Put 10 advertisements out a week, $500,000 a week, we're absolutely flying. So what they've done is absolutely genius. Man City.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. You're acting like I'm saying what they've done is like mental.
But you are. You're comparing it to Man City and saying we're all
comparing it to the reaction of fans to Man City. Forget Man City then. Let's look at Chelsea. When Chelsea came under the Abramovich era, it was all the plastic fans, flag waving, Abramovich.
Just on the plastic things, mate. Sorry, the plastic thing. For me, like Tank, Liverpool went toe-to-toe with City and did it in a different way. I don't think it's sustainable to do, and it's been shown that. I think the money of the game is getting out of hand. I genuinely, hand on heart, don't have an issue with how Newcastle are doing it, because they're doing it in a proper way. It certainly seems that way. But I think for me, the issue with the plastic thing, it's that the City fans have tried to put out this vision, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to City fans that listen, of Man City are a big club in terms of their ability on the football pitch, but their history is not quite there, right? And I suppose this is where the issue comes up for me, is that you've got like speakers being played in stadiums to try and generate atmosphere, or you've got like the attendance stuff where potentially they're like fabricating numbers or buying out sections of stadium. It's to try and build this narrative. And that, I think, is where people talk about plastic, and that they're trying to portray this fake image of as being a certain type of way. Right? And I say this with City. I had mates who were City fans going back to Main Road, and they were brilliant, like the passion, but they haven't got the global fan base. That will take time to build. It's okay to say that, but I think the issue is that They don't say that. They don't have an open conversation. Rather than saying, look, we need to be competing for the next 20 years at the top of the tree. And as a result of that, then the new age of fan base grows. They've never had that conversation. So they create this mirage or this image of being a certain type of way. I think that's my issue with the
City on this season have an average sellout of 96.7% in the Premier League.
That's what you're reading of stats. I guarantee you. And one of my closest mates is a Man City season ticket holder, and he actually sends me shots, goes, fucking at least 10,000 empty. So you're just reading stats of what Man City are putting out, and you're one of them fools who were fucking believing it. Man City have about 40,000 maximum per Champions League game. If my mate says, I don't go because the atmosphere is that bad. He doesn't go to the big Champions League games because the atmosphere is shit.
To be fair, though, Tank, what I would say, I think, Jimbo, I'd say there's a wider issue, and maybe this is one for another day. Liverpool's atmosphere at home in most games now is absolutely rubbish.
I'm not saying about the atmosphere.
No, I think there is a wider issue though now. I think there is a wider issue. I think there's a wider issue now in the big clubs, if you will, or the teams competing at the top of the league. They think that they just turn up and roll over teams, and there's not that much of an atmosphere. Like, I think there is.
Forest completely outsung Liverpool at Anfield Saturday. Yeah, completely outsung them.
So on that, Jim, I want to come to you, right? Talking of money-making schemes and atmospheres, and it's a nice segue, right? FA Cup final day, semi-final day, I should say. This is something that has been a bugbear of mine for a long time. Why, in God's name, we know why, because it's a money-making scheme. But why are these games being held at Wembley? It should be, without a question, like, why should teams in the north, if it's two teams in the north, have to trek down south to go and play a game? It's what?
Used to be at Villa, didn't it?
Yeah, Villa and Old Trafford. Villa and Old Trafford are perfect. Yeah. Both of them are absolutely perfect. And if Old Trafford can't host it, you've got Liverpool now. Well, from next season, their attendance is going to go up. I think it's around 7,000. I think touching 60. So there is multiple, especially now Everton have a big stadium on the way. There is multiple places to play these games.
That won't be finished.
I was waiting for that. Jim, it's not good, is it? Does it not take away from the magic of the final as well?
It does take away from the magic of the final, and it's you can quite clearly see the issue you've got is, where obviously Sheffield United is different for them because it's not something that they will do quite often in recent times and get into Wembley and play. So they're likely to sell their allocation. Yeah, they've got to slog all the way down to Wembley. They're probably not going to get to the final, so it's something that they can do. Where City, United, I'd have Liverpool into this, where, they have to make this trip to Wembley regularly. And it's not, costs aren't cheap, lads. Like, tickets are expensive, trains are expensive. If you drive, petrol's expensive. If you then got to try and find somewhere to park, you then got your food and drink. It's, there's a cost of living crisis here. And the FA just think, we'll put the money on because we've got all the sponsorships in Wembley. We've got to pay off the Wembley debt and all this sort of stuff. When realistically,
fans are always the ones to carry the
fans are always ones that get stiff. Like, as long as Club Wembley is happy and that's full, and the allocation to fans is low anyway. Is it not only like 25,000 that they, or something along them lines, that they get allocated?
The rest is for sponsors.
The rest go to sponsors and Club Wembley and all that sort of stuff. So it just beggars belief that they expect northern clubs to travel all the way down. Well, not northern clubs, because it's irrespective to the clubs. It doesn't really matter. The billion-dollar companies, it really doesn't matter. But the die-hard fans, it's less than ideal to have to go to London. Don't forget there's a London marathon on the day after, so the prices would be inflated. There'll be most people who do the London marathon will stay over. So there's no hotels for the fans to get. The train's price will be inflated. I don't know. Usually by the time it's finished, is there a train back? That's often a case. I know in particular on Sundays that's an issue for people to get into Wembley. It's just an absolute farce, and I feel sorry for the fans. And this is not just City fans; it's any fan that you have to. My son, bloody birthday falls the day after the FA Cup final, and I told him that, and I was like,
Seen you on the sniff in the WhatsApp group there this morning for the old
so
tickets.
he's gone to me, Dad, that'd be the best birthday present ever if we go to the FA Cup. And I know it's going to cost me like 300 quid. And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, like, it's
not just that, Jimmy. It's like when I went to Cheltenham down to watch my horse, it's not that, because I didn't know the horse was going to run, so you can't pre-book a hotel.
Yeah.
Similar to many fans, they don't know whether they're going to make it the final or not. So by the time I tried to book a hotel at Cheltenham, it was £1,200 for a Premier Inn hotel in Cheltenham.
Jesus.
Lads, it's fucking horrendous, because these robbing bastards just try and target fans. So I guarantee you won't get a hotel around London near Wembley for less than £8,000-9,000. So if you're looking to book for your lad, say the FA Cup final, and you've only just got through to the final now, like Man United, Man City fans, if you're looking for hotels now, I guarantee your hotels on the day before,
they'll just jump straight away.
They'll be smashed. The price has just become 200-400% higher.
It's like when you go try and book a family holiday, isn't it? And it's like, if you go in term time, it's like half the cost, and then you get fined in the UK, don't you? If you take your kids out, take the fine.
We get fucked everywhere you turn.
Supply and demand. I get supply and demand. Look, they know people are going to want hotels, and they know going to want it for that date. But it's just the average. The average guy just gets, and this is going deeper into deep-rooted issues than the UK. But just the average person gets stiff no matter what. One way or another, a company will try and stiff you whatever you're doing, and it's like, people flying away for away games on European nights, and as soon as the fixtures are released, they'll have EasyJet, whatever it is, whichever airlines will have someone straight away putting up the prices on the day before, the day after. It's just because they know that people will want to pay it, and we just get stiffed. So yeah,
we need to be more like the French. Go take to the streets. Fuck them all.
We never would do that, would we? I mean, I'd be up for it.
Mate, I'm English. I've thanked hairdressers for shocking haircuts before.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just what we do. Always just what I wanted. Thanks very much. Go around the corner and cry.
If you walk into someone, if someone walks into you, right? You're just walking, chilling. Someone walks into you, barges you. You will say sorry, even though you've done nothing wrong. You go, sorry, mate. It's like, that's just what we're like.
Right, we're going to finish off on listeners' questions. Tank, the first one comes in from Mike Sandy, and he wants to know, has the signing of Jadon Sancho for a fortune with very little return been covered enough? And I suppose it comes back to our conversation around big money transfers, right? And I'm going to add to Mike's question here, because to answer it, I certainly don't think it has, but I think there's a few in the Premier League that seem to get a free pass with this type of stuff. Here is the new, and we did this on a past podcast, and it blows my mind every single time, right? Most expensive transfers in Premier League history. Jadon Sancho is bottom of the list at the moment. But anyway, top transfer is Enzo Fernandez. Then you have Jack Grealish, Lukaku, Pogba, Lukaku again, Mudryk, Anthony, Harry Maguire, Virgil van Dijk, and Jadon Sancho. I would argue there, Van Dijk is the only success. Now, to be fair, there's a couple there that have only just signed, so we'll give them a pass to some degree. Jack Grealish,
straight away, Fernandez is not a £130 million player.
Yeah,
that's not his fault, though, is it?
No, but Jimmy, it's big money, and this is what my issue with Anthony, Man United. If you're getting signed for that money, you have to produce. You don't get this time. You have to produce. Now, I keep seeing people saying, "Oh, he's much improved of late." I don't know where he's much improved. He's fucking crap.
Who's this, Anthony?
Sancho? I don't know whether it's because he's English, is it? I don't know. Does he get a bit of a free pass towards? Because, look, I'm very, very critical of Anthony. I think he's fucking dire. But you've got to say, lads, Sancho's worse. He just comes like he's a shadow. I watched him at Dortmund. I was gutted when Man United signed him. I was genuinely gutted.
He's a real player there, wasn't he?
And then you kind of look at him now and you're like, you wouldn't even take him on a fucking free. He just looks disinterested. He's got nothing about him.
It's funny, isn't it, Jim? Because you look at these players that come with these big expectations, and you were a player fond of an half flick or a back heel or a piece of skill. You look at Jadon Sancho now, and he doesn't ever
gone.
look to he doesn't look to take someone, like there's no creativity there.
No.
He just seems, is this a weight of expectation, whether it's through big club, Man United, big price tag? What is it that is making that list that we've just reamed off there? They just don't seem to deliver.
No, and this is and again we've had this very conversation, haven't we, around the top 10 signings? I mean, Sancho in particular, he had he went from City to Dortmund, or sort of under the radar, had the run of the team at an early age, and thrived in that scenario. Don't forget, he's playing with that will be one of the greatest strikers that have ever lived in Erling Haaland, and that would aid him in any stats that he's producing. But he was doing it for England. He was an England regular, so it was a safe bet from Man United. Well, I say safe bet, obviously it wasn't, but on paper it all seemed like a safe bet. He was playing with the England team. He broke into that at a fairly young age, but you can't. This is where psychology in football is probably one of the biggest innovations that has and will continue to be so, because you can't see what's going on in that player's mind. And Sancho seemingly, on the face of it, has gone mentally. He can't handle that expectations. There's times he came on at the weekend, I thought I can't remember the actual time, but he could have shot and he tried to come back in and pass it sideways. He had a free shot to try and curl it into the far corner. When you start, and we discussed
it was interesting, wasn't it, on the Forest podcast, that the lads were quite kind of surprised because we kind of
didn't get it. They don't get it, do they? Like, non-football, if you've never played at any level, if you don't play footy and you don't know what instinct and confidence does to a player, once you've gone, you're gone. It's so hard to come back. It's so hard. I think he'll leave and he'll go abroad again, and he'll find his form. But I think the weight of
I wouldn't be surprised if you see him back at Dortmund.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, but I think the way of expectation in England,
like you were saying, then you watch him and you're thinking like he got a ball wide left and like there was space, and I'm like,
here's your chance.
Go. Yeah. And then he goes and then he cuts back, plays inside, and you're like, if that's at Dortmund, he's fucking going. And talk about his time at Dortmund, Jimmy, like he was talked up more than Haaland at that time. It was like Sancho. Oh, Haaland's doing well as well, but Sancho's giving him everything. And then you just watch him now. I mean, it's actually sad to see. And it
is sad.
He's
obviously struggling mentally. Yeah. Not many players get given breaks mid-season to go and sort themselves out. So he's obviously struggling mentally, and that no one likes to see.
And come back with his stuff.
He's like, he wants another holiday.
But to be fair, lads, the biggest worry for me for Man United is the form of Rashford. He's looked awful, back to awful.
Yeah, we spoke about that, didn't we? And it's interesting, confidence. We talk about it a lot. It's everything to a footballer. If you can play on instinct, then you're cooking on gas. The worst thing you can do is give footballers time to think and overanalyze, and then all of a sudden, particularly at the highest level, the speed of the game, you'll be swallowed up.
So that's why, again, that's why I think Sancho's getting a bit of a free hit, because he's openly talked around his mental health, and I think people are scared to discuss it because of what he's going through.
Yeah, which is nice. I wish they were like
that. Enough,
like a lot of places to be. So last couple to finish up on. Right, John. Is there an echo there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it always comes towards the end,
It's trying to the system's had enough. It wants us to shut up. Tank Andrew Nicholson wants to know. Well, it's not to Tank. This is to all of us, and we might all have
know
answers. I know where I'm coming. I know where I'm coming. Andrew Nicholson wants to know who would win in a 100-meter race out the three of us. I can safely say
we all know the
answer. Beat me here, mate.
We all know the
answer. Jimmy, I'm not being funny. Right, I was fucking sub 11 seconds. I'd smoked the two-years in the
25 years ago, lad. Yeah, don't forget you're old.
I'd smoked the two-years
now.
Without even a fucking debate. Get to Dublin, get the pints down.
Oh my God, lad. I'm like Usain Bolt. I've got the legs on you. You ain't catching me.
I was going to say not 3 legs there, but that's over.
On a serious note, mate. There is level.
You'd have your little legs trying to catch up with my long, slender legs. You'd be fucked.
3 legs, Jim.
Actually, mate, that's fucking. I'd actually say over 100 meters. I'll give you 10 meters as well, Jimmy.
Right, you heard that here first, lads.
that Dublin is
Full-on
taking shape here. So just to clarify, we're all agreed I'm coming last, yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's no debate.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
This is
You
the
make me look
conversation with me and Jimmy.
Fucking tin man. If you need me to pick heavy things up, I can do that, but I just can't run. Okay, so then John Nightingale. Actually, just quickly on the sprint. You know, my missus was a runner for Ireland. She was a sprinter for Ireland when we first started dating. You know me, when I've had a couple of pints in my gym, I was like, oh, I fucking beat you. Like, come on, let's go for the race out the front there. And we went out the front, and I fucking had to give the old fake hammy injury, didn't I? Because she was absolutely powering ahead. I was like, oh my God. We're out in the middle of Belfast doing crouch starts in the middle of the road. Good crack. Okay, John Nightingale wants to know, I've got a terrible track record with this stuff, so I'm going to leave this one to you to start with so I can gauge where you're at. He wants to know, would you rather fight one bear-sized duck or 10 duck-sized bears?
10 duck-sized bears for me.
Yeah.
Would you? Yeah. You wouldn't want to fancy.
How do you kill a bear-sized duck? Like, have you got weapons or we got bare fists? Like, how do you kill that?
Fists, as you know, from the
fists, so you're never going to kill it.
I'll ask this question. It's the beak that scares me. You could deal with like 10 little nips, but
it should be the wings, lad. The wings are what get you, not the beak. They've got no teeth, have they?
What are they going to do with the wings? They're not going to hit you with a wing.
If it's a bear-sized wing, he's fucking going to give it a good slap
at you. You're
dead.
Okay,
just move out the way of it.
Mate, nah, it's a bear. It's big, mate. Don't forget.
It's not a duck.
No, I meant it's bear size. Sorry. So if you're trying to get in on this bear size, if it's a fight to the death, like you try and get in it. It's flapping.
I reckon if I keep away from his feet,
I'm taking the bear-sized duck.
Yeah.
Oh, you going big?
Squish him with your feet, lad.
Just only got little skinny legs. I'll just 2-foot him, snap his leg, and he's fucked.
Yeah, I think I'd target
yellow
his
pokey leg.
Yeah, I think I'd go for his wing. If I take his wings out and just stay away from the beak, I reckon
What did you say, Tank? What are you going for?
His leg. He's going for the big fella.
You're going for the big fella?
Dog. Yeah, because Jimmy, look at have you seen the duck's little legs? They're like fucking little things. So if you just 2-foot one of the legs, you've injured them. You can take them down. You can knock fuck out of them then.
My only worry is if you go for the 2-footer and you're on the ground, he can peck you there. Lad.
What if you what if you miss a 2-foot and you're on the ground? He just mauls you to death.
Well, he's a duck. He can't mold. He's only got like.
Of course he can. He just sit on you like you. I mean, you look like an egg as it is.
10 duck-sized bears will have nasty little claws like cats.
They won't, because I'll just and what they're gonna do? Scratch my legs off? I'll just squish them, lad. Just squish them with one.
Right, the last question. There was one more. Oh no, we can't ask that one. It's a little cheeky Marv. We'll DM you the answer to that one, mate. It was a bit risky, that one. Luke wants to know favorite cheese. Didn't think we'd finish the podcast on cheese. Are you cheese lovers, boys?
I do like a cheese, you know. I love cheese.
Is it an older man thing? You know, because you get into wine and cheese as you get older. Well, I'm just saying, like, no, I'm just the same age as you, Jim. So, is it an older thing?
You're older than me.
By what is it? 2 years?
1, I think.
It's basically the same.
Basically.
So yeah, have you got a favorite type of cheese for Luke?
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat a cheddar. Like what?
You can't beat cheddar, Jimmy, can you?
You what?
You can't beat just plain fucking Red Leicester's a belter and our
Red Leicester's decent, and you can get your fancy ones, but for everyday use, you cannot beat a bit of Cathedral City extra mature cheddar mint.
Little cracker, red cheddar, bit of pesto, and like a little bit of salami or pepperoni. Throw that in your old, not pepperoni, fucking pepperoni. Throw that in your gob. You're onto a winner there. Absolutely delicious. I love the old food chat. Lads, much on for the rest of the week?
Nah, fucking Cardiff. I'm going down to Cardiff Friday. Jack's second to last game of the season. Cardiff away.
How's the season gone overall?
He's done well. He was really pleased with him. So we had his reviews. He's done really well. They're very happy with him. Big season next season. Cracking game on Saturday, to be honest with you. They played Ipswich. Fucking really good game. They beat Ipswich 4-1. Probably a closer game than that as well, to be fair. But yeah, it's mad. Like his first season's over already. It's scary, isn't it?
He's got a 2-year contract. Is it 2-year YTS or what?
Yeah, they do like a 2-year scholar. So yeah, So he finishes on the 8th of May. Goes back on the 4th of June for a week, finishes another 2 weeks, then kick back into pre-season.
Where's his boys' holiday? He's got to be going on a boys' holiday. Get that in quick. No, he's being well behaved.
He's one of them, isn't he? Proper. He's going to he's going to Amsterdam with his girlfriend because the girlfriend's auntie lives over there for 3 days. Then Dubai with us.
No drugs test on the way back, Burnley.
Yeah, there's some shrooms in them.
Yeah. What about you, Jimbo?
Futsal tonight, mate. Got futsal against Port Vale at St George's Park, and then
not you, by the way. That's Archie. Yeah,
not me. God no, I die playing futsal, mate. It's for the young kids, isn't it? I've got golfing Thursday. Can't beat a bit of golf. Work, obviously. Networking.
Networking, all that.
Networking, and then just chilled weekend. I don't know who we got Sunday yet. No gaming at the minute.
I'll be honest, lads, a bit not twitchy. Excited would be the word. Josh's footy team that I help coach. It's all come down to these last 2 weeks. So we've got 2 games left in the league, top of the league at the moment. Win both games, we win the league, which is fantastic. But the team that are in second, who are on, if they win their games and they're level with us going into the last game of the season, we play each other. It's going to be a cracker. Now. We beat them away. They're a good side, but that should be a cracker. Then at the weekend, we're away at a tournament up in Belfast against the top teams in the north and the top teams at the south, the Puma Cup. So that'll be a bit of crack.
I used to love the kids stuff out of our Jack when I coached them. We done too many. We took the piss in the end. We were doing like 4 or 5 tournaments in the summer. Fucking brilliant. Butlands and everything we took them.
Yeah, and you even remember as a player. I remember going to Butlands as a player, and I still remember the trips. Like these are the things that you remember. So
I went to Ayr. I went to one because I was at Stoke, and we didn't really do a lot of tours. And we went to Ayr. I remember the only reason I remember it is got given some money. Like I think I've told this story before. We got given some money by my mum, and my mum was there. I don't know if she was with my stepdad at the time, but we lost it all gambling, playing that game, where you flick a pound coin as close to the wall as you can.
No way.
So all the older lads, absolutely rinsed all those younger lads for all that money, 30 quid down. And this was back in the, this was 20 years. No, what would it have been like? What am I now? 37. You're talking near 18, 19 years ago. So 30 quid was a lot then. So
life lessons, Jimbo. That's it. Life lessons.
After day one, I went to my mum begging for some more money. She was like, "Where's your money gone?" I was like, "Well, I've gambled it." She was fuming. She was going nuts.
All it takes is one good toss, Jim. Ooh,
that's it. Well, that's what you always.
A bit of blue for the dads there.
Bit of blue.
Right, boys. Pleasure as always. Everybody that's listening, keep your feedback coming. If you wouldn't mind, just give us an out, subscribe, or a like, or a comment on the YouTube, because that basically helps the content get shown to more people. In terms of the social media, keep chatting to us throughout the week. Getting involved in these two, having arguments is always a special delight for me. So keep. Go on, Jim.
Fred Flunk keep telling me I'm being miserable, lad. He's going to get a slap. That.
Oh, hello. You're kind of feeding into his point there, Jim. You're very aggro these days.
I'm dead. You know me, lad. I'm dead laid back.
Chill, Jimbo.
Chill.
Right. With that, enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Hope you are all keeping well, and we will be back with you next week on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Boys.